Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel Gridline Coaching Classes.
For 500 years, from the 13th all the way to the 18th century, the Indian subcontinent was just completely transformed. We're talking about a relentless series of invasions, the rise and fall of incredibly powerful empires, and constant grinding conflict. But this isn't just a story about kings and battles. Oh, no. This is the story of how the actual political map of India was totally redrawn, setting the stage for the world we live in today. So let's dive in and see how it all went down.
Our story really kicks off right here with this incredible tower in Delhi. You see, the Qutub Minar isn't just some old monument. It's a declaration. It's a symbol that a new power had arrived in northern India, and it was about to set off a chain reaction, creating huge empires that would dominate the subcontinent. So what was going on? How did this new power rise up and so completely change the course of Indian history?
All right, so here's our roadmap for this journey. First, we're going to set the stage for this new era. Then, we'll get right into the rise and reign of the powerful Delhi Sultanate. After that, we're heading south to see a new rival power emerge. Next up, the big one. We'll meet the legendary Mughals. And finally, we'll see how their empire hit its absolute peak, only to then begin a pretty dramatic decline.
Okay, let's get into it and set the scene for this massive 500-year saga. This is an era that was really defined by clashing ambitions, some game-changing military tech, and conflicts that would literally reshape the destinies of millions of people.
This timeline kind of gives us the 30,000-foot view. Just look at these key moments. 1206, the Delhi Sultanate is born. Then you have the founding of the great southern empire of Vijayanagara. 1398, a huge turning point. Timur sacks Delhi. Then 1526, the Mughals arrive. And finally 1707, the death of Emperor Aurangzeb, which changes everything. You can think of each of these dates as a domino falling, setting off a chain reaction that completely reshaped the subcontinent. These are the big signposts on our journey.
So, let's get into our first major player on the scene. After a really decisive battle that saw the defeat of the powerful Rajput king Prithviraj Chauhan, a new force of invaders from Central Asia swept in and established a powerful new kingdom, with Delhi right at its heart.
And they called it a sultanate. So what is a sultanate? Well, it's pretty straightforward. It's just a territory ruled by a sultan. But here's what's really fascinating. This wasn't one single long-lasting royal family. Nope. It was actually a revolving door of 5 different dynasties, each one fighting to grab control from the last.
And this map, just look at it. It gives you a sense of their incredible reach. At its absolute height in the 14th century, the Sultanate's power stretched across a massive part of the subcontinent. You have to go all the way back to the ancient Mauryan Empire to find a time when this much of India was under a single ruler. But holding it all together, yeah, that was a whole other story.
You can really think of the Sultanate's story in 3 acts. First, you have this incredibly ambitious expansion under guys like Alauddin Khilji, who even called himself the Second Alexander. Then comes the overreach. Muhammad bin Tughlaq had these grand ideas, like moving the entire capital hundreds of miles south and creating a new token currency. Well, they failed spectacularly, causing total chaos. And the final blow? The absolutely brutal invasion by Timur in 1398. He left Delhi in ruins, and the Sultanate was, for all intents and purposes, broken.
But as the Delhi Sultanate's power started to crack, it created a power vacuum. And in the south, a new empire rose up to fill that void, creating a powerful rival and shifting the whole subcontinent's center of gravity.
Welcome to the ruins of Hampi. Just look at this place. This was the heart of the mighty Vijayanagara Empire. It was founded in 1336 and grew into this incredible force that didn't just resist the Sultanate's expansion, but also became this amazing hub of art, literature, and architecture, a real powerhouse of Southern culture.
And this wasn't some remote, unknown kingdom. Not at all. Its reputation was global. When Portuguese travelers showed up, they were just floored by what they saw. One of them, Domingo Pais, wrote that the city was as large as Rome and was the best provided city in the world. This place was a major player on the world stage, no question.
The empire hit its absolute peak under its most famous ruler, Krishnadevaraya, in the early 1500s. But its time at the top came to a sudden, violent end. In 1565, a coalition of neighboring sultanates crushed the Vijayanagara army. The great city was brutally sacked, and the empire was shattered, never to regain its former glory.
So, you've got a weakened power in the north, a shattered empire in the south. The stage is perfectly set for a new player to enter the game. And boy, did they ever.
They would go on to build the largest empire India had ever seen.
The year is 1526. A ruler from Central Asia named Babur is facing the massive army of the last Delhi Sultan. He's hopelessly outnumbered, but he has an ace up his sleeve: technology. We're talking gunpowder, cannons, and guns. This technological edge completely crushed the Sultan's forces, ended the Delhi Sultanate for good, and laid the foundation for the mighty Mughal Empire.
Now, it was Babur's grandson Akbar who had turned this kingdom into a true empire. But what's so interesting is that he used two completely different strategies to do it. His early conquests were absolutely ruthless. At the Siege of Chittor, for instance, his forces massacred thousands. But as his empire stabilized, he shifted his approach dramatically. He adopted a policy called Sulhi-Kul, which means peace with all. He got rid of the jizya, a special tax on non-Muslims, and he used diplomacy and marriage alliances to bring powerful Hindu leaders into his administration. It was this wild mix of brute force and smart politics that really cemented Mughal rule.
And this brings us to a fascinating point in our story: the empire's absolute peak, geographically speaking, but also the beginning of the end. And it all happens under one incredibly complex and controversial ruler, Emperor Aurangzeb.
Aurangzeb was a deeply religious man, and he basically hit the undo button on many of Akbar's policies of tolerance. That jizya tax, he brought it back. Music at court, banned. Orders were also given to destroy some Hindu temples, though historians still debate the exact reasons why. And crucially, he spent the last 25 years of his life waging these relentless, incredibly expensive wars in the south, trying to expand the empire. It just drained the treasury and stirred up constant rebellion.
And this is what it's all about. This slide right here brings everything home. Just look at the difference. On the left, you've got the Delhi Sultanate at its peak, and on the right, the Mughal Empire under Aurangzeb. The political map of India was completely and utterly redrawn. The Mughals achieved a level of control that was just far beyond anything that came before them. But, as we've seen, it all came at an immense cost.
You know, maybe no one understood that cost better than Aurangzeb himself. In his final letters, he wrote with what sounds like deep regret. "I have not done well for the country and the people, and of the future there is no hope." He died in 1707, leaving behind this vast but overstretched and fractured empire that was just ripe for disintegration.
It's a really powerful and somber end to this 500-year saga of empire building. And it leaves us with a pretty big question, doesn't it? We saw empires build on ruthless conquests, and others that tried to use policies of inclusion. So what's the secret sauce? Is it brute force, economic might, or is it the ability to unite diverse groups of people that ultimately decides whether an empire lasts or just crumbles into dust?